Welcome to the Yeshua community. In this episode, we take a closer look at the Epistle to the Galatians. It is one of Paul's most intense letters. In it, he defends his authority, challenges the role of the Torah, and argues that faith in Yeshua creates a new kind of community. At the same time, the letter raises difficult questions about revelation, tradition, and human transformation. Let's begin.
The Epistle to the Galatians is one of the most dramatic letters in the New Testament. Paul claims that his message does not come from human beings, but from a revelation. He goes even further. If anyone proclaims a message different from his, he says that person should be accursed. At the same time, he describes the Torah, the very foundation of Jewish faith and practice, as something that leads to slavery. These are strong words. Paul makes bold, and for some perhaps quite startling or even absurd claims. How should we understand them? The Epistle to the Galatians gives us a rare glimpse into a conflict within the early Yeshua movement. Different teachers were trying to explain how faith in Yeshua should be understood in relation to the Torah and to the traditions of Israel. Paul offers one answer to this question. But when we read the letter today, it can be useful to ask some fundamental questions. First, where does Paul's authority come from? He himself says that his gospel was not received from human beings, but through a revelation. This is an unusual justification. In Jewish tradition, religious authority is usually connected to transmission. Teachers build upon earlier teachers, and traditions are passed down through generations. When Paul says that his message does not come from human beings, he in many ways breaks with this model. For some, this may strengthen his credibility. For others, it may raise questions. How should a claim of revelation be evaluated? In the Tanakh, we find several warnings about false prophets. The point of these texts is not necessarily to reject new voices, but to encourage people to be critical. A prophet must be tested. Yeshua also warns about false prophets and urges people to be watchful. This does not necessarily mean that Paul must be understood as a false prophet, but it shows that religious claims have always been subject to evaluation and scrutiny. In the Epistle to the Galatians, Paul appears very concerned with establishing his own authority. He recounts his earlier opposition to the Yeshua movement, his dramatic conversion, and how he later met the leaders in Jerusalem. At the same time, he emphasizes that his gospel did not originate from them. This places Paul in a unique position. He stands both within and outside the original circle of disciples. For some readers, this may seem convincing. For others, it may create a certain uncertainty. Another thing that makes the Epistle to the Galatians distinctive is its tone. Later in the letter, Paul describes what he calls the fruit of the Spirit: love, peace, patience, gentleness, and self-control. Yet the letter itself is marked by sharp polemic. Paul calls the Galatians foolish. He pronounces curses on other preachers. He uses sarcasm and strong language. This can give the impression of a text written in the middle of an intense conflict. The second major question in the Epistle to the Galatians concerns the Torah. Why does the Torah become such a major issue in this letter? Paul directs his criticism especially toward practices such as circumcision, dietary rules, and religious calendar observances. These practices function as identity markers in Jewish tradition. They mark belonging to the covenant of Israel. For Paul, this appears to be crucial. He believes that such practices should no longer define who belongs to the people of God. But for modern readers, the conflict can be difficult to understand. Why do these particular practices become such dramatic issues? Circumcision, dietary rules, and religious festivals may today appear as religious traditions that people can choose either to observe or not observe. It is therefore possible to ask whether Paul makes these issues larger than they actually need to be. In the Epistle to the Galatians, this almost becomes a question of salvation. If the Galatians allow themselves to be circumcised, Paul says Christ will be of no benefit to them. This is an extremely strong statement. At the same time, it is interesting to notice what Paul does not discuss. He does not mention the temple rituals. The sacrificial system and temple service were central parts of the Torah in practice, yet they play almost no role in Paul's argument. This may suggest that Paul is not really discussing the entire Torah. He focuses on practices that mark the boundary between Jews and non-Jews. His aim seems to be to remove this boundary. Faith in Yeshua should, according to Paul, create a new community in which such distinctions no longer apply. One of the most striking passages in the Epistle to the Galatians appears in Paul's interpretation of the story of Hagar and Sarah. The story comes from Genesis. Abraham had two sons, Ishmael, who was born to the slave woman Hagar, and Isaac, who was born to the free woman Sarah. In the original story in the Tanakh, this concerns Abraham's family history and the promise given to his descendants. Paul, however, gives the story a completely new interpretation. He says that Hagar symbolizes Sinai and the covenant connected with the Torah, while Sarah symbolizes the freedom found in the new community around Yeshua. This is a very bold interpretation. In the Tanakh, Sinai is the place where Israel receives the Torah after being freed from slavery in Egypt. In other words, in the original narrative, Sinai is a symbol of freedom, not slavery. Paul turns this picture upside down. He uses the story of Hagar and Sarah to portray the Torah as a system of slavery, while faith in Yeshua represents freedom. Many readers will likely see this as a rather free use of the Tanakh. The story in Genesis is not about the Torah, and the connection between Hagar and Sinai does not exist in the original text. Therefore, one might ask whether Paul first decides on his conclusion and then looks for a biblical passage that can support his argument. Another central argument in the Epistle to the Galatians concerns Abraham. Paul points out that Abraham was considered righteous before the Torah was given at Sinai. Therefore, he concludes that righteousness comes through faith, not through works of the law. This is one of the main arguments in the letter. But here too, questions can be raised. In the Tanakh, the covenant with Abraham and the Torah are not in opposition to one another. Abraham's story comes first, and later his descendants receive the Torah as guidance for life within the covenant. It is therefore not the case that Abraham represents faith, while the Torah represents something entirely different. In the biblical narrative, these two belong together. Paul also introduces another strong expression. He speaks about what he calls the curse of the law. His point is that if someone tries to become righteous through the law, that person will ultimately stand under a curse, because no one is able to fulfill the law perfectly. This is a dramatic formulation. In the Tanakh, however, the Torah is not presented as a curse, but as a blessing, a gift that brings life, justice, and wisdom. A third image Paul uses is that the law functioned as a kind of guardian or tutor. The law had a temporary role until the Messiah came, he says. Once that time has arrived, the tutor is no longer needed. This again is a radical interpretation. In Jewish tradition, the Torah is not seen as a temporary arrangement, but as a lasting part of the covenant between God and Israel. At the same time, another tension appears in Paul's argument. When he criticizes the law, the discussion almost always turns out to concern specific practices: circumcision, dietary rules, religious calendar observances. These are the practices Paul returns to again and again. But the Torah contains much more than this. It includes ethics, legal principles, social justice, and many guidelines for communal life. When Paul uses strong expressions such as the curse of the law, or describes the law as a tutor that is now obsolete, it may sound as if he is speaking about the entire Torah. But in practice, the conflict appears to focus mainly on a few identity markers. This can create the impression of a certain lack of clarity in the argument. Paul speaks about the law in general and dramatic terms, yet the discussion largely revolves around circumcision, dietary rules, and festivals. At the same time, it is interesting that Paul himself gives many concrete instructions in his letters. He offers advice about community life, ethics, relationships between people, and how believers should live. This does not necessarily mean that Paul is inconsistent, but some readers may feel that the argument in the Epistle to the Galatians can at times appear somewhat confusing. On the one hand, he rejects the law as a system. On the other hand, he himself gives many instructions about how people should live. This can give the impression that Paul is replacing one set of rules with another. Finally, Paul returns to the question of human transformation. He describes a contrast between what he calls the flesh and the spirit. The flesh can be understood as destructive character traits: envy, conflict, self-centeredness, and lack of self-control. The spirit represents the opposite: good character qualities such as love, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control. These are qualities that most cultures would recognize as expressions of good character. They are not unique to one religion. The development from poor character and destructive behavior to a more mature and virtuous character usually happens gradually. It occurs through upbringing, experience, and relationships with other people. A person who has developed harmful habits or destructive patterns in life rarely experiences a complete transformation overnight. Change usually happens slowly, through support from others and through new experiences. Here a question arises concerning Paul's theology. He appears to assume that receiving the Holy Spirit is the prerequisite for becoming a good human being. Yet many would argue that good character traits are also found among people who do not share Paul's faith. Love, patience, and self-control develop in many cultures and traditions. One might therefore ask whether Paul turns something universally human into something exclusively religious. When we read the Epistle to the Galatians today, we therefore encounter more than a theological document. We encounter a letter written in the middle of a discussion about authority, about the Torah, and about human transformation. And perhaps that is precisely what makes the letter interesting.
You have been listening to the Yeshua Community. In this episode, we explored Paul's epistle to the Galatians, a letter written in the middle of a heated debate about the Torah and the identity of the early Yeshua movement. In our next episode, we will continue chronologically and turn to another early Pauline letter, the first epistle to the Corinthians. Thank you for listening.